We'll edit that later. Anyways, so coming into this month, we have something called the January effect. So, and that's really as goes January, so goes the markets, and that's essentially true. You know, if you're into technical analysis, we'll go through a lot of things, and candle bars specifically, we'll get a new month, new year, a new week, a new day, a new hour, all today. So basically, the the first candle of the year is right now. So the January effect, that's really what that's about. So a couple other things, pilots offer triple pay to combat flight, things like that. A lot of weird stuff going on. A couple headlines about Biden. I think out of the gate this morning was really just, you know, Tesla deliveries, um, just way over expectations, and that exploded out of the gate this morning. So, and this was another headline I kind of caught. There's a case called Florona in Israel, but it's essentially double infection of COVID and the flu. So we'll probably be seeing a little bit more of that as we go into the next quarter. Nothing to note on earnings. This is the last 3 quarters. This week we have Walgreens, and that's pretty much it. Moving into this week, we do have OPEC. So OPEC is going to be a big one, and FOMC minutes and non-farm payrolls. So we have 3 pretty big days for economic data. Today, not much. We'll go through some of this bond auction stuff. We had a huge move in the interest rate products this morning, which is affecting the markets quite a bit. Those will typically affect the markets. Biggest thing tomorrow is going to be OPEC. So JOLTS, job openings, again, really not moving markets. ISM, manufacturing, PMI. Again, anything over 50 in these. This might probably duplicated that. Sorry. Anything over 50 here is good. 60 is where we've been, so nothing major there. ADP is the preliminary kind of non-farm payroll number, and non-farm payrolls, that's really the biggest number of the month every month, so that'll come in on Friday. FOMC minutes, they definitely move the markets quite a bit, so Wednesday we'll have a big deal to do here when this comes out, so just be aware Wednesday we do get FOMC minutes released. Kind of, this is all these times, by the way, are Pacific Standard, so apologies. It's like 2 p.m. Eastern if you're on the East Coast. And market services PMI, I'm actually watching the services sector quite a bit. That's the biggest one that got hit in the pandemic. Again, 58 here. If we get about the same, no big deal, but with the Omicron, what have you, I'd expect that this might come down a little bit. That could actually end up moving markets a little bit. And again, services PMI, so it's 1-2. Services PMI, there we go. Nothing really. There was this big natural gas change last month. So BCF, by the way, is billion cubic feet. So there were a couple nat gas rigs shut down. So that might be an interesting play coming up as well. And again, Friday, that's the biggest day of the week for us, for sure. Biggest day of the month, non-farm payrolls. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Unemployment rate, again, not really moving markets. And average hourly rates, just point out, yeah, these have been going up quite a bit, but again, really not making a big difference because of inflation. So as far as I'm concerned, inflation is going to be a big deal coming into the first quarter for sure. It's just going to be a continuing theme that we're going to have to watch out for. So there you have it. Just going to move into the markets really quick. And again, we will make this fairly short and sweet. This is a 30-minute chart of the S&P. On a lot of my stuff right now, what I did is I just went ahead and marked out a couple lines. So there's this prior month here. So I just put a line here and a line at the bottom of the month, prior week, and then I'm drilling in. So as I'm going through some of the stuff, you'll be able to see, okay, here was last month's high and low. Closed on the high. This is the daily. And I'll drill into the week to the 30-minute just to kind of find the level of support. And you can see that pretty clearly here last week where most of the buyers stepped in. So as long as we stay above this call it 475 level, we should be good for a higher market as we go. This orange box here, this is an average week's move, and I got a dynamic kind of resistance in this broadening range setup that we have for SPY. Very similar on the Qs also. So that puts the target for this week just about 485 on SPY, assuming that we hold above that 475 level. Qs, very similar. So purple line was month high, orange line is the week high, and this white line happened to be same as the week low. So week high, week low, and again, this is actually right in this level. If we can actually keep above here, we can't get above this 4,400 range. We'll be fighting that probably all week. So I'd say most of the defense came in here. Big buy at the open. We'll go through. There's a, like I said, interest rate move this morning that's going to have a major effect on the Qs and things like that. So that would put, I would say that it's another. So last week we actually had half the average move of a week on low volume. I would say that that's going to be the same this week or similar. So maybe at the high end to the prior all-time highs at like 408. That would be my high-end target. Otherwise, if we break below 397, it's going to be pretty red out there. So industrials, similar. Right, here's my average week here. Let me get some of this other stuff off. And I have 363 as where people did buy a little bit last week. So if we don't hold above this 363 level on the industrials, then you can say, okay, we might go down, and it would be, I'd say, this prior all-time high. You can see a lot of buyers coming in right around this 356 and change level here, and this is last week's low, which we opened at. IWM is probably the most interesting of the group. And so this, again, orange line's month high, month low. I mean, orange line's week high, week low. Purple line's month high, month low. And major defense right around this 222 level, which we bounced pretty strong off this morning. So just putting this here. So average week, again, here, for mid caps would put us about 230, 233. All-time high here, 244. So I think that would probably be the best one, assuming we don't have any major COVID issues. We got a 50-day moving average coming in right in at 226 also. So just be aware of that. That could push us down a little bit, which might be what we're seeing. As for options, VIX, well below 18. So anything under 18, really, that's going to kind of signal to me as an option trader, you know, slow, steady ramp up in the market, and actually that options are not overly priced. So outrights, things like that, you know, they're a good deal right now. I still would trade a lot of debit spreads, things like that for swings. Threw out a couple calendars previously, but as long as we're under 20 and really under 18, ideally that signals a very bullish sentiment in the market. This is what I wanted to point out this morning. This is TLT. This is the 20-year bond, and we had a big move out of the gate. So when the bonds, the tickers like TLT, drops, that means interest rates are going up, and when interest rates are going up, that's not good for the growth stocks. So that said, I think that's going to be kind of a warning sign for some of the Qs, things like that, any type of growth companies that are, you know, borrowing a lot of money. Other than that, this is a full week's move almost in a single morning. So I don't think it's going to be pushing down a whole lot more. We're actually coming into this support level right around 145. So maybe we get there at most. But after that, I'd probably be throwing some kind of iron condors, I think, on TLT. This is just a pretty big move. So it'll likely stall out for the rest of the week. once that's done. And crude oil, we had a lot of stuff. Crude oil is coming up. We have OPEC Tuesday, so that's going to be a pretty, typically a market mover. So just a note on that. I'm going to take a look really quick at Bitcoin. So here's a weekly chart. And again, we can start weekly, monthly chart. So typically when I'm trading, I'm looking for something that's a reversal type setup. So this is be like, you know, we're going into a big uptrend. Then you get a candle that looks very similar to this right here. This is a reversal setup candle. So you get, we would call this, this is called the inside bar because this bar is inside of this body. And when you get something like this, you'll typically get a move either in continuation or reversing. Don't know which way. You won't know until the bar clean opens above or below. So here's this above, right? If it had gone, you would know, right? The second that it breaks this body. Down here, once it's going down here, you know, okay, this is going to be a big red one. So kind of watch out. Right now, we had 2 months, 2 down months, and this new month, we're opening right at the bottom of our prior month, and we're actually somewhat green. So we have this kind of range, call it range bound right in here. If we can get above last week's high 52, which we all know 52 has been a pretty big number that we're watching, then we are go for launch. But without that, it's going to be probably a tough road ahead. So I think that said, I'll jump into a couple. Unfortunately, I had AMD on the watch this week. We are at my high, like for the day, really. And again, this is what I'm looking at, right? So 1 month, prior month here, right? Today we're starting right inside the prior month. Does this look like that type of reversal situation? It does. Really like continuation going up to the upside. Same thing here, weekly. So that would actually put a target for the month at all-time highs or higher. So this is a pretty bullish chart to me. As I'm looking at this, this is actually still has significant amount of legs to go. And I think, what else were there? There were some others. You know, Amazon, very similar. Opening inside last month. Here's the month, right? Inside. The week inside. So that means that we're kind of contracting, real squeezing. So this is the daily chart. And again, we broke over yesterday's high. That's what's going to signal for you to go, okay, well, this guy's probably going up. If we get above 34.50 on the week, then we're really going up. So things like that. That's what I'm looking for. Roku was a pretty good one. Very similar. We've had a very kind of range bound. This is last month. This thing never does that, right? So we are clean above the body, at least for last month. The weekly looks good. This is kind of still undecided. Here's the daily. We need to get over 241. If we can get over 241, the next target 265, and then it'll start to look bullish. But other than that, this is a pretty big trading range and definitely something that you can make a lot of money on for sure. A couple others that I was watching. So remember that inside type of setup, right? Here's PayPal monthly. Big sell-off, horrible month. This one, clean above so far. Looking actually decent. A little early for a reversal. I want to get above this 197.92, which was last month's high. If we can do that, then I think we'll be go for a trade. A couple others for sure I was looking at. So Penn, very similar, right? Clean above. Looking for this setup or something similar to this, right? That's just going to tell me, okay, once you get this break here, clean higher above, then we should be good to go. Penn is close. I don't have the strength that I wanted to see for sure. So maybe not quite the kind of big brother to Penn DraftKings. Very similar again. Just keeping them major watches here. Not quite ready to roll. Let me check if I had anything else. AMD, SoFi had a big week last week. Okay, so SoFi, a big week last week, yeah, and we're getting that. So here's that bar that we're looking for decision making, trades. We are just now clearing. Ivy was pretty high on this guy coming in, so want to wait before it clears. After it clears last week's high, 1650. These bands, by the way, that I use are going to tell us about volatility. So anything over 1650, I think this is good to go. Otherwise, it might need to take a little breather because that was a big week last week for sure. I think that's enough right now, really, to kind of go through. I had some stuff, some crypto stuff. Two major holdings here. Threw out a little trade. Avalanche closed the trade. Still own it, but from a trading perspective, you just got to separate. This was that bar, the week's bar, opened up below the prior week. That's when okay, it's not going to be this week. On the other hand, this is the other big position. So monthly, down, flat, and then boom, opening clean above. This is looking good. We just had a big week, so kind of give it a breather. Over here, pretty straightforward. If we can get over 0.295, we are in business for sure. This is where that lands us on the daily chart. So I'd expect a little bit pullback. This is just typical market structure. Let's go somewhere right around here, 276. Ideally, if we can stop above 273, that would be pretty bullish for me. So that's what I'd be looking for. Maybe trade entries somewhere in here, assuming on the daily, hourly setups. If we can get that set up, that would look good. 2.6, yeah, around 2.7. Cool. All right, guys. So that's what I got so far today. I mean, there's more, but I gotta jump into the trading groups and start getting to work. All right. We'll see you later.